Hey, what is up everybody? I am Chance and welcome back to another video of Our Life Beginnings. And always, let's just jump into it. Alright, just one more thing before we get going here. I just want to say you guys are awesome. I really appreciate everyone who leaves a comment, who watches the video, who subscribes, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much. I somehow have 119, 120 maybe subscribers at this point. That's incredible to me. Thank you very much. I sincerely, wholeheartedly appreciate it. If you really enjoy this game, down below in the description is a link to it. I think in Steam and also itch.io. So if you want to play the game yourself, if you haven't yet, click on that link below and go check it out and support these guys. And you can also follow me on any of the socials that I have down below. I post semi-frequently on Twitter and less frequently on Instagram, but if you want to see just the random thing here and there, go on ahead and follow me on those channels as well. So enough of me, let's get into the game. All right, so today's episode is going to be charity. So maybe, let's see, there's bubbles. So my guess is it's probably going to be like a car wash thing for charity. Maybe for ORCA. Is that what that fundraiser is called? ORCA? I think so. Let's do it. Let's get in there. Let's find out what happens. Cove pushed himself to his feet from where he had been bent down in the sand, stretching out his back and groaning softly. ORCA? Or is that the shirt that I picked for him? A tired breath slipped past his lips as he wiped his brow, looking out over the shore. It looks great. You stood beside him, joining in the surveying of the sand that almost seemed to sparkle beneath the midday sun. The two of you had been out on the beach since sunrise, cleaning up and down the beach, looking for various debris, and the work had paid off. Using a hand to shield your eyes from blinding rays, you glanced across the way where the other volunteers from ORCA were gathered. They were easily recognizable by the high-vis vests they wore. It looked as though everyone was about ready to wrap things up for the day. Oh wait, is it done already? I'm happy to see it in a better state. I'm exhausted. I'm just glad it's almost over. You did great, Cove. We're gonna be happy to see it in a better state. It was pretty sad looking when we got here. The beaches of this town were practically your own personal backyard, and you visited them a lot. It felt good knowing that you were helping to take care of them. Too bad not everybody sees the joy in putting trash where it belongs. Oh well. Cove placed his hands on his hips and a pleased grin pulling at the corners of his mouth as he admired the work you'd both done. You had begun to realize, during your time volunteering for the organization, how seriously Cove took his service. It was easy to see that it was something important to him. You felt equally as invested and always gave it your best efforts. You enjoyed the work but mostly wanted to have a good time. Miranda was right, you volunteered because it was a good reference. You didn't want to be there, but you didn't know how to turn it down. Let's say that we enjoyed the work but mostly wanted to have a good time. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, it's good work to do, but we're there for Cove. That's kind of like how I'm seeing it. Like, Jamie would probably do it, but yeah, it's definitely more for Cove. Being part of an organization like ORCA meant you got to meet different people and go to all sorts of places you might not have the chance to usually. We did a nice job today. It's been a good year so far. It's crazy to think that it's already time to push the big event. Oh gosh. You let out a big breath, thinking about the formal dinner that ORCA organized every year. Being a completely fundraising focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization's projects in the year to come. You had to be over 18 to attend, so this was your first opportunity to actually see it in person. All you had heard about it so far was that it was a prim and proper occasion with speeches and everything. Oh no? You didn't know what else to expect from it, as you weren't a part of the group who planned the evening. Before the big night came around, the volunteers would have to sell the tickets for it, and that's where you'd be helping. We're gonna be like door-to-door salesmen. I'm so excited to go. I'm nervous about the event. I don't even really want to go. I'm curious about the night. You shrugged. Let's be curious. Because maybe we're excited, but maybe we're also a bit nervous, but maybe it's just the combination of the two. I'm curious about the night. It might be fun. I've never been to a professional type party. Cove nodded, though he still seemed reluctant. I just don't feel excited about attending a super formal meal with proper etiquette and stuff, you know? He threw his arms out to the side, making a bit of a show at how ridiculous it seemed to him. I've got sand all over my room and only one nice shirt, and I go barefoot pretty much wherever I can. I'm gonna be so out of place. That's funny. So we have a white dog, and that's pretty much me whenever I go out to anything fancy. I know there's going to be dog hair like tagged along, just all over my clothes. I try and get most of it off, but it's kind of hard. Right, I bet you'd rather stay out here. I don't want to have to worry about manners. You can make it work for one night. Doing something that fancy will make it fun. Yep, you'll definitely see my voice there. You didn't say anything. Let's go on ahead and say... Right, I bet you'd rather stay out here. This is where you really belong, not in white-collar society. Oh my god. He chuckled a little and gave you a sidelong glance. You know me too well. A small beeping noise came from Cove's pant pocket, and he pulled it out and glanced at the screen. Huh? It's the organizers. They've sent a text to the group. Time to call it a day here. Alright, ready to head to our next activity? Cove tucked his cell away eagerly, turning to you. Let's head over and drop the trash bags off at the trucks. Then we can drive back and join the ticket team. We've got to be there pretty soon to relieve them. With a stretch of shore this long, the plan was to switch places with the other team who had been pushing the tickets for the fundraising dinner halfway through. It would be a full day of work, but it was ORCA's largest event of the year, and all hands were on deck to make sure it was a success. You raised your hand for a high five, you nudged your shoulder against Cove's, you started pushing Cove on the back to move forward, you ran off, you started to walk. We're gonna nudge your shoulder against Cove's, of course. He chuckled and nudged you back playfully with his now free hand. You collected the trash bags spread along the way together, heading across the beach to hoist them into the trucks before heading off to the next job. The drive back to your neighborhood and making your way to the shopping street was fairly quick, though Cove stressed a little about being late. Luckily, he was able to find a parking spot nice and close to where you needed to be. You jumped out of the car and quickly went towards where you knew the group would be. Finally reaching the stall that was set up to sell tickets, you stopped for a moment to catch your breath. That was quite the flurry of activity. It would be your job for the rest of the afternoon to help sell tickets for the fundraising dinner, and looking around the street, you saw that there were plenty of potential buyers out today. Oh no, this would be my worst nightmare. This would be it. Whenever I did like fundraising stuff back in high school, I had to do stuff like this, and it was... Nope, I just passed it off to somebody else. I was good at cleaning things, though I did have to like serve food to people at one point. Anyways, that would hopefully help to move the tickets along. The stall itself was simple. A portable table with a few plush sea animals as decorations and a banner stuck across the front. There were two volunteers who were already packing up and getting ready to head off to the beach. They gave both of you a friendly smile as you arrived. Hey Cove, Jamie, how'd things go at the beach? It was good. The place is looking great. We're lucky to get a 2-for-1 when it comes to you guys. Cove cleared his throat awkwardly from behind you, and you noticed his cheeks flushing pink. Here we go again. You laughed it off. That's right, that's us. You felt your own cheeks get hotter. Their teasing rubbed you the wrong way. You shrugged it off. That's right, that's us. We're joined at the hips, some might say. The volunteers chuckled and packed up the last of their stuff, and Cove seemed to relax a little more. The volunteers made room for you and Cove behind the table, while they circled around to the front of it. Thanks for coming in for a shift. We'd better make this quick so we can head off to the next place. No problem. What do you need us to do? We're ready for whatever is needed. One of the volunteers handed you a clipboard with all the details needed to sell tickets, while the other tossed a set of keys to Cove, which he caught with ease. Those are for the money box and supply kit. Make sure to keep them on you at all times. We're gonna lose it. I know we are. Aside from handing the cash for the tickets, there's also a form on the clipboard for the guests to fill in their info. That way, we know how many tickets we've sold and who will be attending the event. There's a small script beneath that if you get stuck for what to say, and that's about it. Pretty simple, huh? Uh-huh. I think we've got this. Satisfied that you knew what you were doing, the volunteers said their goodbyes and started walking away, leaving you and Cove to manage the stall alone. The keys jingled in his hand as Cove waved them off, before he stuffed them into his pocket of his pants for safekeeping. Bye, have fun. I thought we were saying that to Cove for a second. Good luck, buddy. I'm going over here. Once the volunteers were out of sight, Cove dropped down into a chair behind the counter with a sigh. We made it here just in time. It's cool we traded places with nothing happening. They might have been late getting to cleanup duty. He leaned back in his seat, getting fully comfortable in the space, and gave you a small smile. You took the other seat, you stayed standing. Let's stay standing for now because one of us has to look approachable. With clipboard in hand, you thought it might make you look more approachable to the people heading down the street. Exactly. We've got things under control. I was so stressed about getting here. Things could still go wrong. I'm glad this work lets us at least rest in one place. You rubbed at your eyes tiredly. You returned to smile. Let's just go ahead and return his smile. I think that's cute. It had been a bit of a mad rush to get here, but everything had turned out alright in the end. Cove rummaged around the station a little, picking up a stuffed toy ORCA and holding it up in front of his face. You had to admit that it was pretty cute, with its big, bulging eyes and oversized flippers. Setting it back down on top of the table, Cove moved on to check out the rest of the stall, finding a cooler stashed beneath the table. Ooh, drinks. When he pulled it out and opened the lid, you could see that it was filled with half-melted ice cubes and about half a dozen bottles of water. Heck yes. Grabbing one of the plastic bottles, he unscrewed the cap and took a long drink. You watched the condensation running along the side and onto his fingers. Did you want one? Yes, Cove. Cove set his water on his side of the table before pulling out another, holding it out towards you. You accepted the bottle of water. I've brought my own, thanks. No, I'm not thirsty. We are accepting the bottle of water because we need to stay hydrated. Thanks. After opening it up, you took a drink and let out a satisfied sigh. You hadn't realized how thirsty you had been, and it was always good to stay hydrated. Exactly. The two of you got settled in easily, and you took the chance to look over the paperwork on the clipboard. Cove joined you, leaning over your shoulder to get a better look. Seems like pretty standard stuff. He muttered, and you nodded quietly. It had general info about the event and the work you needed to do at the stall, as well as the amount of tickets sold thus far, and the number remaining. Cove tapped a finger on the counter as he read quietly over the notes, muttering a few things now and then that you didn't fully hear. He seemed content to be there, and you were sure that the afternoon would pass by quickly. When he glanced out towards the crowd and made a small sound, you followed his line of sight to see that a potential supporter was on their way over to the booth. You psyched yourself up. You were feeling anxious. It was time to do customer service. You tried to relax for a bit. This is going to be a pain. You quietly continued checking over the papers. We're going to psych ourselves up because that's what you have to do in these situations. This could be your first ticket sale of the day. You had to give it all you had to make sure the event was a success. Hi, how are you doing today? Time passed as the two of you manned the stall, and as people approached, your sales pitch would either have them asking for a ticket or two, or heading off and mumbling, maybe next time. All in all, you managed to sell a decent amount of tickets, and you could tell that Cove was happy with the outcome. As the afternoon drifted along, 6 p.m. arrived. Time to pack everything up and head home for the evening. Your work with ORCA was far from over, but right now there was only one thing left to focus on: attending the actual event. Oh god. We gotta get dressed all fancy like. We're gonna see Cove dressed all fancy. The days continued on in a normal flow, and before long, the night of the ORCA fundraising dinner was upon you. It was early evening, and you were in your room getting ready as the minutes ticked closer and closer towards the time you needed to leave. You wanted some privacy, so you had locked yourself away on your own. Liz was helping you pick out an outfit. Cove was on speakerphone. Liz was helping you get ready while Cove was on speakerphone. We gotta do both of them, because I really want Liz to be there, but I also want Cove to be there, so the last one is the best option. Liz was helping you get ready while Cove was on speakerphone. That's kind of cool that you have that many options, though. You were currently in the midst of picking out an outfit, which Liz was helping you with, while Cove gave his input from the phone. Of course, Cove couldn't see any of the items you and Liz were choosing between, but he was trying to help all the same. The event had strict guidelines, and you wouldn't be let in unless you were dressed to code. So man, that meant having to find a truly professional outfit, but one that you were also happy with. You were happy to have the chance to dress fancy, you wanted to be practical about it, you weren't happy about having to dress up. I kind of want to be happy about dressing up fancy, because, I don't know, it'll be cute. There were a couple of outfits that didn't get nearly as much use as you would have liked, and now was the time to show them off. I don't know if Jamie would have. I guess, maybe. Maybe he would. You smiled as you picked your way through the items, your excitement shining bright. You don't need to get too in your head thinking about the look, but you do need to hurry up and pick something. At this rate, you're gonna have a better time picking out your outfit than at the party itself, but whatever you go with, it'll be great. Oh, aren't you helpful, Liz? Don't push me, Liz. Thanks for talking it through with me, Cove. I never thought I'd see the day when Cove Holden would encourage me to wear something formal. You laughed a little, you shook your head. I'm gonna say I never thought I'd see the day when Cove Holden would encourage me to wear something formal. A quiet chuckle came from your phone and you smiled at the sound. Yeah, that is really a once-in-a-lifetime event. Taking a deep breath to refocus yourself, you looked over the options one last time. It was time to decide on an outfit, and quick. You chose a dress, you chose a button-down shirt and pants, you chose a blouse and pants, you chose a button-down shirt and a skirt, you chose a blouse and a skirt. Let's just go, you chose a button-down shirt. Yeah, you chose a button-down shirt and pants. Liz nodded in approval, clapping her hands together, satisfied. Finally, we're making some progress. That sounds like it'd be totally fine. I'm wearing the same type of thing. Standing in front of your mirror, you quietly assessed your outfit. You thought about adding an accessory or two. You liked your outfit as it was. We're gonna add an accessory or two. It needed a little something extra to finish it all off. Rummaging through the rest of your wardrobe, you picked out what you needed to complete your outfit. We're gonna do a necklace? Turning back to the mirror, you let Liz drape your best necklace around your neck and clasp it together at the back. A pair of earrings. You hurried to put on a pair of earrings to match your outfit, aware that time was running short. And then a belt, because you need a belt to tie all that stuff in. You slipped the belt around your waist and fastened the buckle, nodding at your reflection in approval. And then... so we got a necklace. Do we want anything else? Do we want a watch? A watch. Grabbing your watch from your bedside table, you fastened it around your wrist and quickly checked the time. It was almost time to go. Alright, and that's it. We gotta go! And with that, you decided to apply makeup. You asked Liz if she could put on makeup for you. You were ready to go. That would be cute if Liz put on makeup. Let's just be ready to go. You were ready to go. Finally, you were dressed. It had all come together. Okay, just gotta change my shirt and then I'll be at the car. See you in a minute. When you looked at Liz again, she had a goofy smile pulling at her lips. You look very nice, Jamie. Thank you. You twisted around in your outfit excitedly. I do look good, don't I? Now you're talking like our moms. You blushed and smiled at the compliment. You twisted around in your outfit excitedly. Knowing you had made the right decision with everything had you feeling more confident. Liz wiped a pretend tear away from her finger, sniffling dramatically. Oh, precious Jamie, you're really all grown up. It happened in the blink of an eye, when I wasn't even looking. She chuckled to herself, nudging you towards the door. Alright, time to get downstairs. Your special boy awaits. What? You carefully headed down the stairs and into the living room, where your moms were waiting for your appearance. As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you, smiling broadly. You look so wonderful, Jamie. And very mature, too. I know, right? They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close, the two of them admiring you proudly. You enjoyed the attention. Thank you. You sighed dramatically. I already got this from Liz. You wondered why they were making such a big deal. I think we're gonna say thank you this time. Thank you. It felt a little strange to have everyone's attention on you, but you liked it nonetheless. Liz smiled at you from where she stood, her expression soft. Ma came in to give you one last hug, and before you knew it, another pair of arms was wrapped around you, and then a third. Both Mom and Liz giggled as they hugged you tight. We hope you have so much fun tonight. We won't wait up for you. Stay out as long as you need. You're old enough now. With a last wave goodbye, you left your family and approached the front door. It was time. Jamie, growing up. Stepping out into the night, you closed the door behind you gently and looked out across the street. Look at Cove! He's so cute! Cove was standing there in the street. His eyes met yours immediately, as if he had been watching your house for the moment you would come out. He smiled bashfully. Hey, Jamie. Hey, I hope you're ready to do this. You took the chance to check over his outfit as he walked across the way to meet you. It was formal for sure, though didn't feel overly posh. It made sense for him and was honestly a sight for sore eyes. He was always beautiful to you. He looked over you as well, a subtle blush creeping over his face as he quickly cleared his throat and averted his gaze. He seemed to be struggling to find something to say, rubbing at the exposed part of his arm awkwardly. Thank you for coming with me. and for dressing really nicely for this. Your outfit? It's good. Better than good, really. Great, I guess? Something else? Oh, Cove, it's okay. So, yeah. Thank you. You felt shy over it. Your look is very nice too. You're so hot right now, you said flirtatiously. You shrugged. This is way too much. Your look is very nice too. You glanced over him from head to toe, noting that his shirt, pants, and shoes were all shiny and new. Very nice indeed. He ducked his head a little to hide his expression, but you didn't need to see it to know he was pleased that you had said so. Thanks. Then he shook his head, glanced back towards the garage, and, throwing a thumb over his shoulder, spoke. We should probably get going. Wouldn't want to be late to such a grown-up event, right? Yeah, let's go. You headed over to Cove's car together, hopping in and strapping on your seatbelts. You were on your way. The event was being held at a place you had never been to before. You brought up the location on your phone to help Cove navigate there. It took some time to find the right address, and once there, you were met with the task of finding a parking spot. Though you were on time, it seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed the spaces. Eventually, you found a suitable place before realizing that it required payment. Cove covered the amount, taking a ticket from the machine and leaving it on the dashboard of the car. Alright, here we go. This is fancy. We're like in an aquarium place. Despite the small holdup, you managed to ultimately make it to the event and confirm you were on the guest list before being shown into the dining area. Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the entire place was decked out with beautiful oceanic displays. You were stunned yourself. It was extremely high class, even more so than you had already expected. It's so nice. This is the best looking event I've ever been to. It's way too frilly for me. It's so overdone. Could be worse. You didn't comment. We're gonna say this is the best looking event I've ever been to. Your lips parted in a wondrous smile as you took in the decorations and the guests all dressed to the nines. Cove met your eyes with a similar look on his face. Look at this face, he's so happy. You got the impression that he felt the same way about it all. The sound of your names being called out echoed over the din in the room. When you looked around, you recognized a couple of the organization leaders looking your way. They approached you both in greeting, giving you a welcoming smile and a hello. Leader 1, whoa. Cove, Jamie, we're glad to see you could make it, especially after all the hard work you've done to help make this night happen. Definitely. I wasn't gonna miss it. Hi. That's so funny. You say that as if we had a choice, you joked. I wouldn't miss it either. Hello, I'm thrilled to have made it. You gave a soft nod. I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it either. This is our big night. Of course we had to see what we were working towards. Well, thank you for being a part of the team. You're always welcome to help us out with activities whenever they come up. Thank you. Cove shrugged then, eyes darting around the place with an awkward look. Me. I guess we should talk to more people. There isn't much else to do at an event like this. You found your way into groups of people who were standing around chatting while some light music played in the background. Servers with large silver trays were gliding between the guests, offering drinks and canapes? Canaps? Cove approached various people as you wound your way through the guests. He managed broaching new conversations well. You were enjoying talking to so many different people, both guests and members of the organization alike, and found yourself enjoying the company. The sound of a microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. Someone who you assumed must be the host for the event was asking everyone to sit down in preparation for the meal and speeches. You and Cove looked for your table, finding it easily enough by the little name cards that were placed delicately beside the napkins. A few others joined you at the table, though they weren't anyone that you recognized. The host was still speaking as people were settling, starting off the speeches by giving a welcome to everyone attending. She went on to provide some more information about ORCA, which you supposed was for the guests who weren't a part of the organization, and the purpose of the fundraiser tonight. ORCA's goals, as she explained it, were to aid in the conservation and restoration of oceans and beaches. There were many people who had helped to make the group as successful as it was. When she read off a list of several volunteers who worked on making the event happen, Cove's name was one of the first to come up. Look at him go. His chest puffed out in pride at that. Your name then came up a little further down the list. You were smiling from ear to ear at the mention. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As she continued on to thank the large donors for the event, you checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his finger over the tops of his knees, pretty pleased to have been mentioned by name. You laughed quietly at his reaction. You rolled your eyes. You were excited for him. You could relate to that feeling, tried to keep focus on the speech. We're excited for him. He had worked so hard to make this event happen. It was the least that he deserved. While the host continued speaking, multiple servers dressed in black were setting the first course of the menu in front of the guests. Oh, that sounds good. I'm hungry. One of the servers set down a plate in front of you, and you thanked them quietly before looking over the dish with interest. You recognized the dish as a simple Caesar salad. The host quickly wrapped up the end of her speech, thanking everyone once more before inviting you all to begin your meal. Anyone who had included a special dietary note when signing up for the event received a vegan or vegetarian version, and there were also small baskets of bread set around the table. Well, that's nice. You ate both the salad and the bread. You ate just the salad. You just ate some of the bread. You didn't eat any of it. We are eating both of them, especially the bread, because get all the bread that you can while you're at these things. Cove wolfed down his salad before munching into a breadstick, quickly devouring that as well. I hope the next part comes out soon, and it's bigger. You could hear him mumbling to himself as he reached over for another piece of bread. He glanced around the table, and you followed his line of sight with curiosity, noting that everyone else was still eating the salad. Stopping his hand mid-air, he quickly pulled back and rested it on his lap without taking another breadstick after all. Should probably wait just a little bit longer, Cove. It was clear that he was starting to feel unsure of himself, and he looked a little out of place here. He folded his arms and turned away from them to you. Hey, did you like the salad? It was really good. It was too small. It was alright. It was pretty bad. You simply shrugged. Let's see. Caesar salad is probably the best salad that there is, so it was really good. That's not true. I do like ginger dressing salad. That stuff's really good. I can't wait to see what else they serve. His gaze remained purposely tunneled on you, as if he was trying not to even think about what the rest of the table might be doing. You gave Cove a pat on the hand. You made silly faces at the other guests while they weren't looking. You picked up a breadstick and gave it to Cove. You discreetly flipped the other guests off. You sat there quietly, feeling uncomfortable with yourself. Let's give Cove a pat on the hand. Hopefully that's like done in like a good way and not like a way. His lips tilted up at the corners as he seemed touched by the reassurance. It wasn't much longer until the main course was arriving and the various chicken, steak, and veggie dishes were being served throughout the room. An array of scents waft through the room, making your mouth water. You went with the vegan meal, you went with the vegetarian meal. We're gonna go with the vegetarian meal, because I think, yeah, I don't think we've ever gone full vegan. You had opted for the vegetarian dish, and the meal that was set in front of you looked so delicious that you couldn't wait to tuck it in. Cove had gone for the steak, and once he started to dig in, he was completely absorbed by his meal. You're gonna choke if you keep inhaling your food like that? You kicked him under the table teasingly. You flicked something at him while he was off guard. You focused on your own food. We're gonna flick something at him while he was off guard, because... But why not? This is an ORCA event and we're gonna litter. You centered a pea... Okay, we're throwing food at him. You centered a pea in a clear spot on your plate, taking the time to get the angle right. He wasn't going to notice what you were doing as long as he had food in front of him. When it was perfect, you struck the tiny thing and it hit him directly in the side of his cheek. He bolted upright in shock, almost choking on his mouthful of food. The look he gave you was far from impressed, but his eyes still held a glint of amusement. You threw your gaze away from him innocently, as though you had done nothing at all. When you peeked to see if you had gotten off scot-free, he rolled his eyes and returned to his meal. You chuckled lightly beneath your breath, and he did the same, thoroughly entertained. Dinner eventually ended, and last of all was dessert. A lemon sorbet that had been partially dyed blue. That's cool. The mix of white with bold streaks of blue made the little scoop look like a ball of roaring ocean waves. The effect was very pretty, but the serving size was small. Perhaps it was the price to pay for artistry. You turned to Cove to find him pouting a little at the size of it. Digging into the dessert, it took him only a few bites to polish it off. Again, the other people around the table had barely even begun eating. An unimpressed air settled over him as he sat back in his chair, sipping at his water unhappily. You should appreciate what you got. You laughed at his moping. You are such a big baby. We can get more dessert later. You cleared your throat. Let's laugh at his moping. Because it's funny. Are you really upset about your dessert not being large enough? He looked up at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such a thing. He fumbled for a defense. It was just really good, that's all, and now it's gone. But I'm okay. With a slight grin, he shrugged to show that he was really fine. Would you like a bite of mine? Do you want my dessert? Alright, Cove. Would you like a bite of mine? You scooped up a spoonful of your sorbet and offered it to him, holding a hand beneath it to avoid any drips. I know he's going to say no. His eyes widened as he eyed the dessert hungrily, surprised by the offer. Recovering quickly, he actually did! He leaned forward over the table, lifting out of the chair a little as he ate the treat from your spoon. Look at you, Cove! As he sat back, humming happily with his mouth full, you couldn't help but smile at the sight. Cove swallowed the faux ocean and let out a satisfied sigh. Even though it wasn't that much more, the simple fact that he had gotten more hit the spot. Thanks, Jamie. You're welcome. You were pleased to see he was perkier, and you went back to eating the rest of your dessert. Another person from ORCA got up on stage to make a speech as everyone was nearing the end of their meal. They spoke mostly about the individual projects that the organization was working on and their plans for the near future, as well as encouraging anyone who was interested to consider volunteering. Cove bent forward over the table with his chin balanced on his hand, listening attentively to the words. As they came to a conclusion, and everyone gave them a round of applause, Cove caught your eye and smiled. You wondered what would happen now. And then the lights dimmed. A couple of spotlights came on, projecting a water light effect around the room. The guests gushed over the ambiance, and you looked around with wide eyes at the ripples on the walls. The DJ... What? The DJ that had previously been playing some soft mood music in the background announced that the floor was open for dancing, slowly turning the volume up so it drifted through the space. What the heck? This one. When you glanced at Cove, his eyebrows had shot up and he mumbled quietly. I didn't know there would be dancing. I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. He gave an awkward laugh as you both watched as people rose from their seats. It was clear now that many of the donors were couples. A small crowd had started to form on the dance floor, and the DJ played a romantic song to get everyone started off. Oh god. Cove let his gaze float over the small sea of guests, and he seemed lost in thought. A serious expression had settled on his face, making his eyebrows dip. Slowly he turned to you, though there was something cautious in his approach. Would you want to dance with me? I'd love to. I was just going to ask you the same thing. I don't really want to dance. I'd love to. His face lit up. You could tell even beneath the dim light. He nodded firmly as he rose from his seat, though you noticed his hands shaking at his sides. You walked out onto the dance floor together, hesitating a little when you turned and stood face to face. Cove had a hard time meeting your eyes, but he lifted a hand for you to take, unsure of what else he was meant to do. You accepted his hand easily and gave him an encouraging smile. It took some doing, but amidst your nervous laughter, you managed to find a comfortable enough position to set a rhythm to the music. It was quite nice after that. Every time your eyes met Cove, he would look away quickly, but he seemed to be enjoying the dance nonetheless. Eventually, he felt comfortable enough to speak. A lot has happened, huh? You nodded faintly. You weren't sure if he meant just today, this summer, or your entire time knowing each other. But it didn't really matter. It was true either way. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had been neighbors, it was difficult to even try to reflect on it all at once. I'm glad we ended up here. He gave you a soft look and you beamed, knowing that could also mean many things, but from his tone, you were certain he didn't only mean here, at this event. It was more than that. Ooh! Ooh! Oh no. Oh no, we're getting mushy. Mushy. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. So am I. I think we have to tell your dad thanks. This is how we could approach this. You couldn't even speak. You chuckled happily at the two of you and the long adventure you'd been on. Let's go ahead and do So Am I. The party eventually started to wind down, and at last, it came to an end. When the main lights turned on, you blinked against the brightness of them, making sure you still had Cove in your sights. One final speaker came up to the podium on the stage, thanking all the guests for coming and wishing everyone a good night. It was bittersweet to see it come to a close. Your time with Cove here was precious. At least the memories could be brought with you. Giving the space one more look, you walked together with Cove out to the parking lot. The other guests were doing the same, so you got stuck in a bit of a crowd, though Cove was so tall you could always see him, and it was easy enough not to get separated. The parking lot itself was quite big, and even more noticeable now with fewer cars blocking the view. It took a little while to actually locate Cove's car across its expanse. Eventually, you found it, and the two of you bundled inside the vehicle and buckled up. The trip home was quiet, and you both silently reflected back on the experience. The event had been the biggest night of the year for ORCA, and now it was all over. Just like that. Outside your window, the surroundings soon became familiar, and you found yourselves back in your neighborhood. Cove pulled the car into his driveway and put it in park before letting out a relieved breath. Home sweet home. Yeah. After climbing out of the car, you walked slowly down to the road, Cove coming over to stand beside you. You stopped in the middle of the street, right between your house and his, and turned to him, finding him in the process of opening his mouth to speak. Strangely, he clamped his lips together as though he had suddenly thought better of it. You also stayed silent. That was quite a night. Good night, Cove. Thank you for taking me tonight. This is kind of awkward. Thank you for taking me tonight. Thanks for coming with me. You stepped in for a hug, you ruffled his hair playfully, you gave him a friendly nudge, you patted him on the arm, you waved goodbye. Let's just give him a hug. We've already danced together. It was really cute. Let's just give him a hug. You went forward and wrapped your arms around him, and he returned the gesture, squeezing tight. Night, Jamie. With a last wispy smile, he left towards his front door. Figuring you shouldn't linger in the street for much longer, you crossed the remainder of the road and did the same. When you reached your house, you pulled out your keys and stuck them in the door, trying your best to be silent about it. Opening the door a crack, you turned back and looked at Cove from over your shoulder. Your eyebrows lifted in surprise to see he was doing the same, holding his front door open, but waiting for you to go inside before he did. You shared an amused smile before you both stepped into your own houses, locking the door behind you. It was quite late, so everyone was already asleep. As quiet as a mouse, you tiptoed up to your bedroom and changed out of your formal clothes into your pajamas. Now that you were finally home, you were exhausted. You brushed your teeth and got ready for bed in darkness, before crawling under the covers and letting out a heavy breath. It was still strange to think about how that was it. The build-up to the event had felt like so much. Now, it was completely behind you. Your mind was busy with rapid yet muddled thoughts as you faded closer and closer to sleep. As unconsciousness creeped up on you, you felt more content. It was a big deal, but there would be more in the future. You could accept what it had been, and you could dream about what you'd get to experience next. Oh! Okay, this is probably Cove. And then you were taken away from your dreams right back into reality by a sound. Your eyebrows pinched together, fully unprepared to be a part of the waking world again. The day was over, and it had been an eventful one. But you heard another noise. It was a tapping. Your eyes flew open. The window. There was a tapping that came from your window. Of course! Cove Holden, the window wizard. You slowly forced yourself to get up. You went over to let the guy in. You rushed over to him. We're just gonna go over there and let him in. You extricated yourself from your bed, yawning. You stretched your arms and then made your way to the window. There was another tap right before you arrived. When you pulled it wide open, Cove was indeed there. You had not been surprised to find Cove awkwardly crouched on your window ledge. However, you were taken aback to see that he was a little overdressed. Cove hadn't changed out of his formal clothes. Was he, like, trying to sleep in them? You also noticed he was perched clumsily. You didn't know if it was because he was trying to keep his fancy clothes clean, or if he felt weird about something. His body was too stiff and awkward. Cove smiled sheepishly. Hi, Jamie. Hi. Cove, why are you here? How come you're dressed like that? It's nice to see you, Romeo. Have you looked at the clock? It's too late for this. You remain silent. We'll just say hi? Hi? You moved aside and let him climb inside. He cautiously stepped down by stretching his legs over. I like this song, by the way. This background music's great. Strangely, he didn't use his hands for support. It was clear to you now he was holding something. Holding something? When he was safely on his feet, he briefly checked out his clothes, twisted around to see the back of his pants. He caught you looking and shrugged. I did go home after the event, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to settle down, so I just walked back out. I needed fresh air and time away from everything. He paused for a moment and raised his clasped together hands where you could see them. But then something happened, and well, so I have something I want to show you. Cove grinned like a child. He caught a firefly. I bet you he caught a firefly. Cove grinned like a child and gently unfurled his fingers, not being able to keep you in suspense for even a minute. This is too cute. Carefully sitting inside was a tiny yellow light. It blinked off and then on again. A firefly. Oh my god. Delicately, he moved his hand closer so you could see the creature better. They're back. Oh my god, it's too cute! My heart. He closed his eyes, his smile now faintly illuminated by his insect companion. Oh. Remember the first time I caught one? I always will. I could barely manage anything because of that neon pink cast I was stuck with all summer. You were still stunned by what was happening, but couldn't help snickering when Cove did. It was thanks to you that I finally held a firefly in my own hand. I was happy too. Honestly, I didn't think I'd see them this year. I don't know why. It's just, they were kind of late and I guess I've been worrying about a lot of stuff lately. You could tell that the firefly genuinely lifted his spirits, and he seemed at peace, and he wanted to share that with you. The fact that his first thought after discovering the fireflies was to come over and celebrate the joy with you made you suddenly feel very cherished. Cove opened his eyes, but he looked away, not meeting yours. It's really nice, I think. Even if the fireflies disappear for a while, it doesn't mean they're really gone. They'll come back. I can see them again. Oh my god, Cove, do you think am I leaving? Are we leaving? No, we're not leaving yet. You smiled. Technically, fireflies aren't even gone, they're just eggs and larvae. You waited for him to continue. We're gonna smile. And then you looked at the firefly keenly. There was definitely something poetic about them. You felt a warmth in your heart. Cove looked at your face, his smile now fragile. It makes me think about the two of us. We're together, then we say goodbye, and then we're together again, day after day, year after year, and even if our time apart gets longer, that doesn't make it forever. Oh my god. Jamie, I'll always be there, whenever you want to see me. Cove! Cove! Oh my god. You wanted to be with him, there was nothing else you wanted then, and he needed to know. You quietly said his name. Okay, so I really want to pick the first one, but I can't because I want him to ask us out. So, yeah, we're gonna quietly say his name, even though I really want to do number one. Cove. Okay. I'll always be there for you too. Come on, Cove, you're being sappy. Thank you. You're the best. You're a crazy person. You couldn't say a word. I'll always be there for you too. You beamed at him, you hugged him, you ruffled his hair, you teared up, you stood shocked still, stunned. You hugged him. You stepped closer and grabbed, that was a cute face. You stepped closer and grabbed Cove into a hug. He made a squeaking sound as he tried to move his hands out of the way, but then laughed when the firefly flew off. He didn't seem to mind the bug's escape too much. Cove chuckled shyly and then hugged you back, his arms wrapped around you tightly, reaffirming that he'd always be there for you. Cove looked at you, affection plain in his face. Hey, do you want to go out to the hill? The fireflies are still there. Yeah, let's go. You nodded yes. You shook your head no. Maybe another night. It's too late. I'm tired. Let's go. Cove brightened. He was practically bouncing at the thought of a secret excursion before he suddenly became bashful. So how should we leave? We could just try the door. We don't have to do the window thing, but maybe that'd bother your family? You both chuckled at how awkward it would be if your moms, or worse, Liz, saw you going on a midnight firefly catching trip. You'd be sure to avoid that. But you wanted to use the front door, you could leave from your window. Let's leave from the window. It's like the one time when we went surfing right before going to school. Let's go through the window. Cove nodded in understanding. You grabbed some shoes and readied yourself for an adventure. You were glad that there was no way you'd run into another soul outside. Cove would be way overdressed, and you were still in your jammies. You let Cove go first. He stepped back on the ledge as you carefully followed. He shuffled along and soon reached the garage. You planned to use the fence from there to reach the ground. Cove climbed down to the fence. He wobbled once, but he made it without an issue. He leaned against the fence and projected hushed words up to where you were waiting. Do you want help? You nodded yes, you shook your head no. Yeah. You got to the edge and let Cove spot your descent. He grabbed you about halfway down and brought you to rest firmly on the ground. Cove gave you an encouraging smile, but neither of you risked speaking yet. You briskly snuck behind the house and up to the old white poppy hill. And Cove was right. The entire hill was lit up, insects twinkling here and there with their pale yellow light. Cove let out a contented sigh, finally able to relax in full. He strode further up the hill to better enjoy the view. You walked along as well, letting yourself be surrounded by the twinkling displays. Then, without warning, Cove plopped onto his back. He paid no mind to smacking his formal attire in the grass, of course not. He put an arm under his head and stretched the rest of his limbs out. He was clearly getting quite comfortable in the dirt there. You kept standing, you sat down, you laid down in the grass. We are laying down in the grass as well. You sat down first, and then fell back. You could see the stars when you looked up at the night sky. I wonder if Dad will be mad about the grass stains. He tugged at the collar of his shirt. He didn't sound concerned, just idly curious. Maybe you should figure out how to clean it before he finds out. His smile bent a little, and it went silent between you. The other sounds were the rustling of bugs in the breeze, and the faraway crashes of waves on the sea. You continued watching fireflies. You wanted to catch some fireflies. You asked Cove if he wanted to catch fireflies. You challenged him to rolling down the hill. You asked Cove to dance with you. Oh no. This one's hard. Oh. You know what? I want to ask Cove to dance with us. Hey Cove, do you feel like dancing? Cove stared at you in shock at the invitation. Understandably, he had not expected that. You felt obligated to try to say more. I'd just like to. It makes sense, look how you're dressed. It makes sense, just look how you're dressed. What else are you gonna do in those fancy clothes? He laughed lightly and shrugged his shoulders. You have a solid point. You got up and brushed off your clothes as best you could. A pesky blade of grass tried to stay stuck to your leg. Cove did likewise, wiping his hands on his pants to clean them off. You faced across at each other, and suddenly the prospect of what you were doing became more real. Cove hesitated a moment as you both tried to decide what move to make now. He nervously wrapped an arm around your back and carefully took your other hand into his own. He pulled in a deep breath, and you couldn't help but notice just how close the two of you were. Then you began to sway together amid the floating lights. This is a good scene. Despite the lack of music, you found a rhythm to your movements, back and forth, step to the side and slide. It was relaxed and freeing. Your eyes never strayed from one another. For a time, you just existed in the moment, holding each other close and enjoying being together. The hour grew later, and the fireflies mostly dispersed until only a few stragglers remained. Then, even they blinked out of sight, leaving you alone with Cove in your thoughts. It felt as though it was a night that would never end, but you knew it would have to, all too soon. You were only grateful to have been a part of it. These were moments to treasure, and you already knew you'd be remembering them for a very long time. Oh my god, that was so cute! Oh gosh, we are making moves! Alright, so that is that. What a cute freaking little part that was. It really makes me want to go to a fundraising event for some reason. I don't know if it's just the atmosphere or the food or all of it. Oh, but I want to go to a fundraising event. Anyways, whatever. Leave a comment down below about how you felt about this episode. And also let me know how you feel about these longer videos. I was splitting them into two just to make them easier views. But let me know if one part, one episode, one moment, whatever, it all being in one is easier and better for you guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. And as always, if you liked the video, give me one of those big old thumbs up. And if you want to keep seeing more stuff, hit that beautiful subscribe button. And I also hear you should ring a bell. So ring a bell. Do it. Ring a ring a ring a ring a ring a ring ring ring. Okay, we're done with that. Anyways, as always, I appreciate you guys so much. Until next time.